For thousands of years, the names Gog and Magog have appeared like shadows across history, ancient powers, prophetic enemies. According to some, real nations hidden somewhere on Earth, waiting for the right moment to reappear. If you ask 10 different people what or where Gog and Magog are, you'll get 10 different answers. Some say they're ancient tribes, others say demonic forces. Historians point to real civilizations. Conspiracy theorists insist they still exist, concealed behind restricted borders or underground. And in several religions, they play a key role in the final chapters of human history. The truth is messy, controversial, and surprisingly interconnected. The earliest descriptions appear in the Hebrew Bible. In the book of Ezekiel, Gog is not a place but a ruler, Gog of the land of Magog, leading an alliance against Israel in the last days. Magog, meanwhile, is presented as a land or nation. But the texts deliberately avoid giving precise geography. They leave clues from the far north, yet nothing that locks it to a specific modern map. Later, the Book of Revelation shifts the tone completely, describing Gog and Magog as nations at the ends of the earth that rise up after a 1,000-year period of peace. Again, deliberately vague, which is one reason these names have fueled speculation for centuries. In Christianity, they re-apocalyptic symbols, massive forces that gather for the final battle before divine intervention ends the world as we know it. Judaism often sees them as hostile nations that will challenge Israel in a climactic war. Islam, however, gives Gog and Magog, known as Yajuj and Mayuj, a much more physical identity, the Kur, and describes them as real peoples trapped behind a colossal barrier built by a mysterious ancient figure known as Dul Qarnayn. According to the Islamic narrative, this barrier will one day break, and Yajuj and Mayuj will flood into the world in overwhelming numbers, wreaking destruction until they're finally stopped through divine means. Islamic tradition even gives them behavioral traits: destructive, corrupt, and relentless, almost like a swarm. Because none of these descriptions map neatly onto known civilizations, people throughout history have tried to place them on the global map anyway. In medieval times, scholars proposed the Caucasus region. The famous Gates of Alexander, an ancient wall structure in the Caucasus, fueled the belief that this was the barrier sealing them off. Some medieval maps placed Gog and Magog beyond the Caspian Sea, in an undefined wilderness that Europeans called simply Terra Incognita. The Mongol Empire added another twist. When Mongol armies swept across Asia and into Europe with overwhelming force, destroying entire cities, some Europeans became convinced these were Gog and Magog unleashed. Chroniclers at the time openly speculated that Genghis Khan's forces fulfilled the prophecy. The theory persisted for centuries, even after the Mongols converted to Islam or Buddhism and built highly organized states, because the speed and brutality of their expansion fit the fears embedded in the ancient texts. Over time, the theories multiplied. Some claimed Gog and Magog were ancient Scythian tribes. Others pointed to the Khazars. Later, fringe groups tried to link them to Russia due to the far north reference, while others reversed the idea and tried to frame Western Europe as the mysterious villainous force. In the 19th and 20th centuries, as global politics shifted, people repeatedly reinterpreted Gog and Magog to match whatever nations they feared most at the time. But the story gets stranger once conspiracy theories take over. One of the most persistent claims is that Gog and Magog live inside a hidden region beyond the Arctic. Early explorers brought back stories of northerners living behind impassable mountains, which some later connected to the legends. Fringe theories claim there are massive ice barriers hiding regions that satellites don't capture clearly, suggesting entire civilizations could still be sealed away. This plays into the mythic idea that Gog and Magog remain imprisoned until some final moment. Then there's the hollow earth theory. In this version, Gog and Magog aren't lost somewhere on a map, they're inside the earth. Proponents cite ancient stories of underground civilizations, adding a dramatic twist that a sealed subterranean kingdom houses the tribes, waiting to break loose when the Earth's crust finally fractures. There is, of course, no scientific basis for this, but it continues to spread because it ties neatly into existing myths of hidden barriers and imprisoned nations. Another conspiracy focuses on the Great Wall of China. Because of its scale and age, some have speculated that it was originally designed not to keep invaders out, but to keep Gog and Magog in. There's no historical evidence to back this, but the sheer size of the wall invites speculation. If an ancient civilization built a barrier of that magnitude, Some argue maybe there was something truly terrifying on the other side. Even modern geopolitics hasn't escaped the pull of these ancient names. In some circles, people try to attach modern countries to the prophecy: Russia, Turkey, China, or the United States, depending on their worldview. None of these theories are consistent, but the fact that so many groups attempt to reinterpret the prophecy every generation shows how deeply embedded these names are in cultural psychology. Gog and Magog are like blank prophetic templates that people reshape into whatever they fear most. The future predictions are even more dramatic. Many apocalyptic theories say Gog and Magog represent a final global conflict, one massive alliance rising against another. Some faith traditions believe this war will be literal, fought with armies and weapons. Others see it symbolically, representing the final clash between good and evil, order and chaos, or justice and corruption. In some Christian interpretations, the rise of Gog and Magog marks the countdown to the end of human history, followed by judgment. In Islamic tradition, the release of Ya'juj and Ma'juj occurs after the arrival of a great leader and just before the world as final transformations. The unsettling part is how these prophecies echo across civilizations that never interacted when these texts were written. Cultures separated by geography and time still produced versions of chaotic tribes emerging at the end of days. Whether symbolic or literal, this consistency suggests something deeper, a universal human fear of being overwhelmed by forces we can't control. So where are Gog and Magog? The answer depends on whom you ask. To historians, they're ancient tribes whose identities shifted over centuries. To theologians, they're prophetic forces real but not geographically fixed. To conspiracy theorists, they're hidden somewhere out of reach, behind a wall, beneath the earth, or beyond the poles. To billions of believers, they are future actors in a story that hasn't played out yet. Maybe that's why the mystery persists. Gog and Magog sit at the intersection of religion, myth, history, and fear. They're everywhere and nowhere at the same time, written into scripture, debated in academia, whispered about in conspiracies, and projected onto the future. And the most unsettling possibility is that they were never meant to be found on a map at all, because their true meaning may lie not in geography, but in the darkest parts of human imagination.